Hello. So I'm recording this video because I was looking forward to meeting with some of our students here regarding Black psychology, and we were not able to meet, so I figured I'd bring the meeting to them, or at least make it available to them. So I'm going to get into sharing my screen here, and we're going to talk Black psychology. I'm excited to do that at any time, but especially for students at a place where I learned a lot about Black psychology. So I am Brandon Gamble, and I'm the faculty scholar here at the Black Resource Center. I'm also an educational psychologist who earned my master's degree here at San Diego State and my doctoral degree at University of Southern California, but definitely cannot forget that I earned my bachelor's degree. It all began at Oakwood College in Huntsville, Alabama. So let's get into it. So I'm taking a quote here from Dr. Asa Hilliard and reminding myself of him as one of our strong, great ancestors, fellow educational psychologists. And it's a simple quote: to be African or not to be. After so much has gone on where people sought to deny us our very existence, we've decided and made a clear and conscious choice to be African. Another ancestor who both of whom I've had a chance to meet in this life, first Dr. Hilliard and now Dr. Joseph White, who passed away a little bit before the end of 2017. And the quote is, "It's very difficult, if not impossible, to understand the lifestyles of Black people using traditional theories developed by white psychologists to explain white people. Moreover, when these traditional theories are applied to the lives of Black folks, many incorrect, weakness-dominated, and inferiority-oriented conclusions come about." In other words, people try to apply a certain way of being after they've tried to deny our being. That's just not going to work. And this is why the Association of Black Psychologists was founded and why I remain a member. So let's pause here and talk a little bit about Black psychology, and in particular, Cambone. And I'm pausing here a little bit because I got to know him well every time I go to the conventions, but he's also since passed away. Black psychology was formed as a reaction to Western psychology, a consequence of being in America. That said, African psychology existed without Europeans. You notice I'm saying all of this in English nonetheless, right? And the language forms the psychology to some degree. So therefore, it's important that we consider issues, words, ideas coming from Africa if we're ever to be free. Nonetheless, Black psychology is African psychology, coming from Kemet, coming from West Africa, coming from all around the world, wherever you find African people. That's it. So African psychology consists of, and this is according to the Dean of Psychology at Loyola Marymount University here in Southern California. And she's defining African-centered psychology here. And she's saying African psychology consists of American values, ways of accessing knowledge, ways of defining reality, ways of governing and interpreting behavior, social relations, designing environments to sustain healthy, adaptive functioning among people of African descent. And that's from Dr. Cheryl Tawedi Grills. And Dr. Grills travels back and forth between the United States and Ghana and other parts of Africa to better understand Africans' adaptive functioning, what it means to be healthy, right? We have to define our own reality. That's what it comes down to. That's what makes Black psychology unique. Another really great professor who was here in San Diego for a while at UCSD, and I know he made appearances here at San Diego State. That's where I first met him. Also at the University of San Diego, he's well known and a very strong psychologist, advocating for the best in African-American psychology in particular. And he wrote a book in 1976 and updated in 1998. And that's when I met him, when he was updating the book. during that time. That's the ancestor, Dr. Robert Guthrie. He looked really at American psychology, right? And started picking apart the development of American psychology as it rested so much of its ideas upon the manipulation of the lives of Black people, right? So for example, there's this term called drapetomania, and drapetomania developed early in psychology. I'm talking early in the 1800s, where they would see that there was a slave who wanted to be free, or a person who was enslaved who wanted to be free. They called that drapetomania. So why would you want to be free, right? He also documented that there were zoos. Follow what I'm saying here now. Normally we think of zoos to go see animals, but these Americans were making zoos to come and see Africans, right? And some of these people, I'm particularly talking Black people who were put in these zoos, you know, they had hard, sad, and upsetting lives where it disrupted their mental health. And this was not about adaptive functioning. This was about manipulation of people. He also looked at eugenics, and really these are the basis of understanding much of American psychology. Now, he did all that, but my favorite contribution though was his cataloging of the first Black graduate students going into psychology, starting with Francis Cecil Sumner and moving all the way really until Dr. Joseph White's generation as well, and the impact and influence they've had on the field of psychology, including Kenneth and Mamie Clark, and again, I mentioned Joe White. So I'll start with the American Psychological Association, or APA, right? And they focus on IQ testing as being helpful to that if poverty makes your IQ low. And I still hear some of these arguments today, right? And they help study the problems of Black people compared to others. And statistical measures are indicators of dysfunction. Whereas the Association of Black Psychologists, and really espoused by people like Dr. Guthrie and Dr. Harold Dent, who is one of my mentors, who's still alive in his 90s, IQ testing needs to be reformed or done away with, right? So, and Dr. Dent is really on the side of getting away with it, whereas Dr. Guthrie was more interested in continuing with IQ testing, but updating it and studying what is right with Black people. And that's exactly where Dr. Asa Hilliard was, and Dr. Joe White. And we wanted to look at statistical measures of Black success. And so one of my last conversations with Dr. Guthrie was really focused in on that particular area. And the field has moved in that direction, but not my field in particular, school psychology. We've only just scratched the surface. I'd really like to see more of psychology move in that area, focusing on statistical measures or even other studies of Black success. So here's some thoughts I want y'all to think about, right? Black psychology and Black people who are psychologists. So there's a difference between those who have studied and devoted their career to the enlivenment and the illumination of the soul of Black people, right? And I'm taking that last kind of phrase there directly from the mission statement of the Association of Black Psychologists, versus those who are therapists who happen to be Black. And I'll say that again, there's a difference between those who have studied and devoted their career to the enlightenment and illumination of the soul of Black people versus those who are therapists who happen to be Black. And I want you to consider, what do you think that difference is? And for your own self and for your own career, how would you define your progression as a student, as a professional by answering those questions? Okay, so here's some actions needed for this Black Psychology Student Association. We don't even have to meet directly, but I do think it's important that we share our contact information, that we start an official club, that we choose an advisor, we select meeting times, develop a social media presence. I'm already on that one, homie. Study Black psychology and network with Black psychologists. And we learn more about the Association of Black Psychologists and similar organizations. All right, I hope this information was helpful, and I hope you're at least excited about psychology, particularly Black psychology, but also yourself as a Black psychologist. Have a great day, and I hope you can get in contact with me. I will leave my email contact in the comments section or in the description section of this video. Thanks for joining. Have a great day.